now comes the fibula bone. So fibula is called fibula because it is a feeble bone. It is a non-weight transmitting bone of the lower limb. The weight is transmitted from the hip joint to the femur, and from femur to the tibia, and from tibia to the calcaneum and to the ground. Fibula is not taking part in the knee joint, as well as is not a weight bearing joint. But 9 muscles, they are attached to the fibula bone. So it is a highly vascular bone having very good blood supply, and this is the reason this fibula bone is used for the bone grafting wherever it is required in the fractures of the other bones of the body. So it has got the upper end, shaft, and the lower end. So upper end is expanded, it is called the head of the fibula, but it suddenly narrows down to form the neck. So neck is the narrowest portion of the fibula. Sometimes students mistake the lower end, which is lateral malleolus, as the upper end because it also looks like the conical, like the head. But only difference is that if you keep the bone away from the body and see which is the narrowest part. So narrowest part is the only the part that is called the neck, and just above the neck lies the head of the fibula. So only neck will tell that whether it is a head of the fibula or the malleolus. So neck of the fibula is very much surgically important because the lateral surface of the neck of the fibula, it is touched by the common peroneal nerve. Like the ulnar nerve behind the medial epicondyle in the upper limb, we can roll the ulnar nerve in the groove behind the medial epicondyle. Similarly, we can roll the common peroneal nerve against the neck of the fibula. It is so thick. And in leprosy, like ulnar nerve, it also becomes 3 to 4 times thicker. So, like ulnar nerve, common peroneal is also very much helpful in diagnosis of the leprosy. Now, this head is expanded part. The top point of the head is called the apex or the styloid process, and 5 structures are attached to the only head of the fibula. See, this is the head of the fibula, the expanded part, and suddenly it narrows down. So sudden narrowness of any bone is the weak point. Then the shaft becomes comparatively broader. So this becomes the neck and this is the head. The top point is called the styloid process or the apex. To the apex or the styloid process, there is the attachment of fibular collateral ligament, the ligament of the knee joint. Fibular collateral ligament is attached here, and the muscle, which is called the bicep femoris, is inserted around the fibular collateral ligament on the apex of the fibula. Then the soleus muscle. So soleus muscle also takes origin from the head. Then peroneus longus and extensor digitorum longus. It also takes origin from the head of the fibula. So in this way, 5 structures, 4 muscles and 1 ligament is attached to the head of the fibula that we have. And head of the fibula also makes the superior tibiofibular joint. So fibrous capsule of this joint is also the attachment of the upper end. Now the shaft of the fibula is variable. No doubt it is having 3 borders, 3 surfaces, but it is variable in the upper 1/3, middle 1/3, and lower 1/3. But only you have to identify one sharpest border in the mid, that is called the crest. So medial crest is the interosseous border. So it gives rise to the attachment of the interosseous membrane, which is also from the middle tibiofibular joint. So that you have to remember. only one thing is prominent, that is the medial border, or the crest, or the interosseous border. Then the lower end is called the lateral malleolus, and behind the lateral malleolus, so lateral malleolus medially also forms the inferior tibiofibular joint, and the tip of the lateral malleolus is inferiorly, and behind the lateral malleolus passes the two muscles of the lateral compartment, that is the peroneus longus and peroneus brevis. So from the shaft, the muscle taking origin is the peroneus longus, and little bit below the peroneus brevis, and in the lower one third is the peroneus tertius. So all the three peroneal muscles, they take origin from the shaft of the fibula, plus it also gives the origin of the tibialis posterior also, near the interosseous membrane. Plus it also gives the origin of the flexor hallucis longus, the deep muscle of the posterior compartment. The flexor hallucis longus is also taking origin from the shaft of the. So see, the 9 muscles are attached to the fibula, so it becomes, as the muscles, they are rich in blood supply, so fibula also becomes rich in blood supply. That's why it is used for the bone grafting, that you have to. So whenever a patient comes with the fracture of the both bones of the leg, both tibia and fibula, we always give the attention to the tibia. We correct the tibia fracture, we don't, or we ignore the fibula, because fibula is a non-weight transmitting bone, and because of the high vascularity, its union is also very quick. So these points has to be remembered about the fibula bone. And also the common peroneal nerve touches the lateral surface of the fibula, and fracture of the fibula is very much common at the neck, because it is the narrowest part, and the damage to the common peroneal nerve will lead to the foot drop deformity, because the common peroneal supplies the anterior compartment muscles by the deep peroneal nerve. So it crosses the common peroneal nerve, crosses the neck of the fibula anteriorly, and here it divides into a deep peroneal nerve, which is the nerve of the anterior compartment, a nerve which remains lateral to the fibula is called the superficial peroneal nerve, which supplies the peroneus longus and brevis. So peroneus longus and brevis, they are the everters of the muscle. So they are the everters of the foot. So what is the eversion? So definition of eversion is that eversion is the movement of the foot at the subtalar joint. In first part, lateral border is raised above the ground. Lateral border is raised above the ground, so that second part of the eversion movement is so that the sole of the foot faces outward or laterally. So this is the definition of the what is called the eversion of the foot. So here the everters are the peroneus, both peroneus longus and brevis, they are the do the eversion of the foot. So see how. So first part of the eversion is that lateral border is raised above the ground. So lateral border is raised above the ground is the function of peroneus brevis, because peroneus brevis muscle is inserted over the fifth metatarsal on the tuberosity, or its lateral surface is the tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal. So peroneus brevis muscle comes from the posterior surface of the fibula, passes behind the lateral malleolus, and then passes on the lateral surface of the calcaneum, which bears a trochlea, and over the trochlea there is a peroneal retinaculum, and two tunnels are formed, one above and one below. The upper tunnel is for the peroneus brevis muscle, and it goes into the lateral border of the foot and inserted on the base of the fifth metatarsal, that is called the tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal. So this tuberosity, if you see, it lies in the middle of the lateral border of the foot. So when the peroneus longus brevis muscle acts, it raises the lateral border upward because it is in the middle, not anteriorly, not posteriorly. So because of the middle insertion on the tibial in the fifth metatarsal tuberosity, so if the middle part is raised above, whole of the lateral border is raised. This is the reason why the peroneus brevis is inserted on the midpoint of the lateral border. That is the lateral surface of the base of the fifth metatarsal, that is called the tuberosity of the fifth metatarsal. This is how to observe the first part of the eversion definition, that lateral border is raised above the ground. That is the first part of the eversion. Second part of the eversion says that so that sole faces laterally or outward. This second part of the definition is completed by peroneus longus. So peroneus longus is also long, so it also taken from the posterior surface of the shaft of the fibula. It also passes below the trochlea, inside the trochlea, that is the peroneal ligum retinaculum, and then it also passes the sole of the foot, but it passes below the oblique groove, below the cuboid bone. And as it passes below the cuboid bone groove, so this changes the direction of the tendon of the peroneus longus. Now this is the oblique groove. So from this oblique part, peroneus longus tendon passes below the sole of the foot, and it goes below the below the bases of fourth, third, second, and in this way it reaches the base of the first metatarsal, and peroneus longus is inserted on the lateral surface of the base of the first metatarsal after passing below all the bases of all metatarsals. So this will subserve the second part of the eversion movement, that when peroneus longus will act, then what will happen? The bases of all the third, fourth, second metatarsals will be raised. Will inserted on the lateral surface of the base of the first metatarsal. So when this muscle acts, so what will happen? Whole of the sole is raised above the ground, and it will tilt the sole towards the outward or laterally. That is the second part of the eversion, so that sole faces laterally. It is done by peroneus longus. So in this way, both peroneus brevis and longus, they do the eversion movement. And both are supplied by superficial peroneal nerve, that is the nerve of the lateral compartment, and supplied by the peroneal artery, the artery of the lateral compartment, which is the branch of the posterior tibial artery, the peroneal artery.